back to another video! This week we're doing some fan art from my iPad Pro, and the subject of the fan art is Newt and Tina from Fantastic Beasts and Where's Finder. The other week I had my friend visiting, and don't worry, it still counts as like social distancing. She doesn't really see anyone, I don't really see anyone, so it's like from one little bubble of isolation to another little bubble of isolation. And she's a huge Harry Potter fan, and turns out she'd never seen either Fantastic Beasts film, and I'm like, oh ho ho, do I have something for you? And yeah, so we just like watched them back to back while playing Animal Crossing and doing some sketching and stuff like that, and she really liked them, and it just got me like thinking about what I like about the series, what I don't like about the series. Like obviously I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. If you remember my fandoms series, I haven't done an episode of my fandoms in a while, but I intend to go back to it. But one of the earlier episodes of my fandoms was the Harry Potter themed episode. I drew the Weasley twins, but I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I think at this point I might have read more fanfiction of Harry Potter than I have for Naruto, which was my reigning champion a couple of years ago. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of the lore, I'm a huge fan of the characters. I like greatly enjoy what everyone has done with it once they get their hands on it. So like all the fanfiction, I just like, it's just such a wealth of lore that I truly enjoy. And I was super excited when Fantastic Beasts started coming out, and I really did enjoy the first movie. Like in my first time I watched it, I didn't enjoy the most all like the subplot that was going on with like Credence and the Obscurus kind of situation, but I loved the beasts and what was going on with like Newt's case and the way that they did all the beasts, like the Niffler, the Erumpent, the Occamy, the Demiguise, and like these were all things that I was more familiar with than most, not because I've read the Fantastic Beasts little like guidebook thing, but because a lot of people have that book, they've used those creatures in fanfiction, so I've been like super like happy to get to see them actually what they look like, not just descriptions, because also every fanfiction author like treats them a bit differently. But I just absolutely adored getting to see them in film. And then when I heard it was going to become a series that was covering the Grindelwald story, I was like, oh my god, here we go, because obviously I've read a load of fanfiction that touches on the Grindelwald storyline and all those sorts of things, and I was just really looking forward to get to know more about Dumbledore's situation, maybe even get a little bit like of a different perspective into little baby Tom Riddle eventually and all that sort of thing. And then Crimes of Grindelwald happened, and here's the thing with Crimes of Grindelwald. When I first left the theatre, I was so happy, and this parallel might alienate, but I've already like admitted to this when I first made my fandom series for Star Wars, but I didn't like the way that the sequel trilogy, so 7, 8, 9, I don't like those movies for Star Wars, and I think the worst offender was The Last Jedi, which was 8. I really, really didn't enjoy it, and when I first saw it, I was like up in flames, and I wasn't like really up in flames, I was just like going down that endless spiral on YouTube of all the people that were raging on it. But objectively speaking, if you take The Last Jedi outside of the Star Wars series, if you look at it by itself, which is what the critics are doing, it's a good film. Like, it's a really good film. It's just a really bad Star Wars film because it contradicts so much of the existing lore, and it doesn't do the characters new and old. I don't believe it does them justice. Obviously, all of this is my opinion. So that's where I stand on The Last Jedi. And why am I bringing this up in a video about the Fantastic Beasts series? So my opinion of Crimes of Grindelwald is that it's a really good Harry Potter film, but a not so good film. And why do I say that? I say that because there's been videos that have said this before, that it has like no real rising action. It just has exposition, and then climax, and then little to no falling action. So the thing is that it's jam-packed with things that are happening and information that they're throwing at us and revelations and this and that and everything like that. But there's no like steady build-up of like, okay, you've given us all this information, let us sit with it while stuff is happening. It's just like more information and more information and more information. And I just think that it's just kind of sloppy in terms of organization, the way it was told. I think that there was enough content within the Fantastic Beasts Crimes of Grindelwald movie to do 2 movies, which is kind of the opposite problem that we've been having in the last while, because ever since Deathly Hallows was split into Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Deathly Hallows Part 2, we've had this bad habit of splitting movies into 2 parts when they really didn't need to. I think Infinity War and Endgame for the Avengers, that was a good call, but like for the Hunger Games series, you really didn't need to split that into 2 parts. The Twilight series was like borderline alright to split, but I do think that Crimes of Grindelwald had enough content in it to have been split into parts. But I think that really comes down to the fact that J.K. Rowling, who wrote the screenplay, she's not really a screenplay writer, she's a novelist. She's like starting to get into screenplay writing, but I think that there's just a lot of pacing and structural issues that could have been better improved. Now, I still enjoyed it, and even the second time around I still had fun watching it. It didn't like enrage me like The Last Jedi did, but objectively speaking, if you're looking at it from a film perspective, I do think that The Last Jedi is the more successful film. While it might not be the best Star Wars edition, but it's a good, cinematographic piece of artistry or something. But yeah, I feel quite conflicted with the big reveal at the end of Crimes of Grindelwald. It's just, I was thinking about it like crazy, and logistically it doesn't make sense. And then I'm not going to get into spoilers, but there's the thing that, for example, they had McGonagall, Minerva McGonagall, be a professor at Hogwarts within even a flashback of Crimes of Grindelwald, so back when Newt and Leta Lestrange, when they were students. So if in the current timeline we're in the late 1920s and Newt is 30 something, early 30s or something like that, he would have been a student in from 1905 to 1915, somewhere in that range. But McGonagall was supposed to be born in 1930, 1940. She couldn't, it's completely inconsistent. She was supposed to, they cast, I love Maggie Smith, don't get me wrong, she was the perfect McGonagall, but it's true that they cast her too old compared to with how old McGonagall was supposed to be in the books, just like they cast Snape too old, and that the I don't know what the names are of the actors that played Lily and James Potter, but they were supposed to have died at age 21. And Alan Rickman, as great as he was, he's not 34, 33 years old as he should have been, as Snape should have been in The Philosopher's Stone. So all these little things I get for the films versus the movies, but because Fantastic Beasts is a prequel sort of thing, you have to consider, it's not just they're being weird with the how they're depicted in the books versus the actors that they're choosing. I obviously understand that you can't get that spot on every time, and you should pick the actor that's going to best portray the role, not necessarily if they're typecast to be logistically age, height, hair color, all that sort of thing. But McGonagall wasn't born and they put McGonagall there that's just an oversight that I know it was for fan service, but I don't really enjoy as much as when I was in the theater. So I was oh my god, look, it's McGonagall. But I was then I thought about it, I was no way, she's way too young to be a teacher already at that point. It just makes me think that maybe there was a similar sort of oversight with the big reveal at the end, that maybe they didn't really dig through ages and dates and actually try to match things up for the timeline, which I get for the casual viewer, they don't really care, but I have way too much knowledge about this series in my brain to not really think about it in terms of what the date is and who was supposed to be born around that time. I don't know, it's just these little nitpicky things that turn me into one of the bad internet trolls that I don't enjoy being, but there it is. That's my breakdown of it. For this drawing, I know that in fanfiction a lot of people like the idea of Newt with the original Percival Graves, but I think that the couple of Newt and Tina, they're so sweet, they're so cute, they're so secondhand. It reminds me of in Spider-Man Far From Home how Peter and MJ are. They're just so God, they're so cute. I loved it. So that's why I was really inspired to make this drawing. I did put a lot more effort than I usually do when I was sketching their original poses. I didn't really look up any reference, but I was just trying to get this sort of hesitant but not really shy sort of, they're just really soft. that's the best word I can think about it. They're really soft for each other. It's so cute. And I'm continuing to play around with that new style of drawing noses that I've been doing lately. That isn't really detailed, it's just kind of like a little outline of it. And I went super simple with shading. I basically just put the colors down and I use a smudge tool. I found the Borodante brush in Art Studio Pro is really good for smudging things. Like, it lets you have a decent amount of control. Oh, here's this clip that I lost because I started doing a little sketch of Pickett on Newt's shoulder, and then I got interrupted. My brother came around and I was like, oh no, and I like stopped the screen recording, and then I got back to my iPad like half an hour later and I noticed your screen record failed to save, and I'm like, shoot. But oh well. I drew Pickett in like 10 minutes. But yeah, as I was saying, like for the original poses, it actually ended up taking me like half an hour to get the anatomy poses down. And that's like quite a long time compared to what it usually takes me. Usually I get the original like just sketches of the anatomy down in like 10 to 15 minutes, but I took twice the amount of time because I really, really, really wanted to get this body language down correctly. And also I was careful to size the heads correctly because the original sketch had the heads being too big and they really didn't look like adults. They really looked like 12-year-old kids with their first crush at that point. But yeah, I'm just really happy with how this came out. It just makes me smile to see them, and as conflicted as I am over Crimes of Grindelwald, I love Newt as a character. He is just fantastic. He's the sweetest little bean, and there's this video on YouTube called The Subtle Masculinity of Newt Scamander or something like that. I think it's a really good watch because like it encompasses the kind of sweet, caring, nurturing vibe that I get from Newt, but he's still like undeniably masculine and kind of manly without being manly. I don't know, it's just it really makes me happy. And getting to see all the creatures, and in Crimes of Grindelwald the scene with the Kelpie absolutely kills me, and the fact that the time period makes it so just him having his trench coat off and his suit jacket rolled up, like just that's supposed to be like revealing and vulnerable, to be that state of quote unquote dressed down while it's still like very dressy by today's standards. I don't know, it's just, I'm happy that I got to meet Newt Scamander basically. Yeah, I just kept the shading fairly simple. I didn't really go too extravagant with like lighting or bounce light or anything like that. It's just, I think I did colour the lines for where there's skin, but I didn't colour the lines anywhere else. And what else? I gave Tina her wand because she's an aura, and she was very badass in Crimes of Grindelwald, but I decided to keep Newt without his wand. If you guys remember, back in I think 2017, I did a fan art of Newt Scamander, and there I had him holding his wand and a Hufflepuff scarf. I'll leave a link in the card to that video, but it's been like 3 years since I drew that, and now I'm drawing him again but with Tina, and it's just, oh, so great. I'm very happy I made this drawing. This was drawn on pure like soft feels, like Doki Doki feels, because after watching the films I was just like, oh, they're so adorable, I want to draw them, I want them to just be happy together. And I think that they did a really good job in Crimes of Grindelwald to kind of get some romantic tension without it interrupting too much. But then again, there's just too many plot lines going on in that film that interrupt with each other. There's just too many. I really do think that they could have edited that down a little bit. But overall, I'm interested in seeing how they're going to continue with with the Fantastic Beasts series. I'm just very curious. I'm sad that there's no books that I can read ahead in, but keep an eye out for theories and stuff like that. And yeah, it's been really nice to get the Harry Potter fandom reinvigorated. Here the drawing's basically done. I'm just adding a little bit of like ambience and like color correction type things. I wanted Newt's eyes to be more blue, Tina's eyes to be more gold, like salamanders. But yeah, this is the finished drawing. Thank you for listening to me talk about the Fantastic Beasts series for 15 minutes. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of Crimes of Grindelwald. And yeah, I'll see you all sometime soon.